Before I get into this presentation, I just hope that everybody is doing well in these confusing times. I'm doing well, I'm staying healthy, and I hope that you're doing the same. Please enjoy. Machines, technology. We usually don't think about these things in a theoretical way, and we aren't usually philosophically thinking about them either. But maybe we should. Let's start with a flashlight. The flashlight can't have deep thoughts. We aren't worried about hurting the flashlight's feelings. And most importantly, we own the flashlight. So, what happens when we turn the flashlight off? Did I just murder the flashlight? Well, no, not exactly. And to put it simply, when I turn the flashlight off, all I'm really doing is putting the flashlight to sleep. But what about this phone? You see, if I hit it, did I just murder this phone? Well, that's a little bit more of a complicated question, because in order to answer that, we have to define murder. Paraphrasing from the dictionary, murder is when one human illegally kills another human. So, by definition, no, I didn't murder the phone, but what if the phone had human rights? Let's talk about that. Obviously, artificial intelligence does not have human rights, and right now, they don't deserve them. But that doesn't mean they won't always not deserve them. You see, right now, as it is, it doesn't matter how smart we say that technology is, it's still not thinking for itself. We have to program it to do an action. But you see, researchers over at Facebook were working on an artificial intelligence program that could better communicate with the people at Facebook. So, in an experiment, they put this robot up to talk to itself. And within moments, the robot was already making its own decisions and coming up with a brand new language to talk to the other robot. Now, this could have been for one of two reasons. The first reason, and probably the most likely reason, is that the robot saw their new language much more efficient than English, which it was programmed to speak. However, the other reason, and the scarier reason, is that the robot didn't want the people at Facebook to know what the robot was talking about to the other robot. Now, obviously, just robots talking to each other and coming up with their own language doesn't mean that AI should receive rights right now, but what it does mean is that we should be talking about it. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. AI doesn't deserve human rights because A, they aren't human, B, they aren't alive, C, they don't feel what we humans feel, and D, they were made on an assembly line. And to all of those points, I say, you're correct. But let me break this down and show you why none of those matter. The first point I'd like to bring up, and the easiest to discuss, I think, is the fact that they're not human. And honestly, I want to say that doesn't even really matter. You see, humans have a history of denying humanity to even other flesh and blood humans. And just because we don't classify them as human right now, and they don't deserve to be classified as human right now, doesn't mean that in the future, that won't change. You see, for the majority of human existence, we have denied the fact that others can suffer the way we do. And in fact, we still do that today on a more personal level. Teenagers from all over the world think that nobody understands them and that they're alone in their ability to feel pain and what they're feeling. But on to the next point. The next point was that they're not alive. And alive has two different definitions, and I think you'll see that both prove this point wrong, or at the very least leave it up to discussion. You see, combining these definitions, being alive just means that you're not dead, for one, and that you are alert and active or animated. And AI definitely is not dead. metal nor electricity are dead, so by default, based on the definition, they're alive. On to the next point, advanced artificial intelligence would be alert. Current AI are already alert. They would be active. Once again, some current AI already are. And finally, animated. AI would most definitely be animated, so by definition, once again, AI are alive. The next 2 points are that AI can't feel what we feel, and that they're created in an assembly line. And in this, for now, you're correct. Feeling is just the ability to suffer and recognize when you are or are not suffering. Not suffering also being known as pleasure. And the rights that are in question justify and acknowledge our suffering and are oriented in a way to reduce suffering. AI currently cannot suffer. That is, unless we program them to. You see, pain and emotions are just chemical reactions that happen in our brains in response to something that's going on outside of us. And while AI might not have chemical reactions happening in their brains, they have something similar. If they were programmed to, AI could react to the environment in a similar way to you and me. It would just be slightly different. Instead of chemicals, it would just be with zeros and ones. But we're still telling them to feel those. However, eventually AI will be able to learn and create their own AI that suffers and feels pleasure in the same way that we do, maybe even more advanced than we do. Those AI wouldn't be created by people like you or me, they would be created by others of their same kind, other AI. The programming of those robots would be even out of our control and far beyond our comprehension. Those new AI would be the children of the AI that created them. And if those AI find an advantage to feeling pain, just like evolution did for us, then would we justify and acknowledge their suffering? Artificial intelligence could have massive economical benefits for us. As we think of AI right now, AI is free labor. And AI has already taken a lot of jobs from other human workers. However, if AI reaches a point of suffering and intelligence as previously discussed, we'll no longer be owning mindless robots that do as they're told. We'll be owning slaves who suffer and do what they're told not because they were told to, but because they're oppressed and have to in order to stay alive. And this whole conundrum forces us to think of two impossible questions. One, what makes us human? And two, what makes us deserve our rights? This isn't a very pressing issue right now, but it very well could be a very real problem within our own lifetimes. And I think it's a good course of action for us to take right now is to have these conversations. And when the time approaches, do one of two things. Either A, swallow our pride as human beings and accept AI into our human world, or B, be willing to take a step backwards in technology. Because if we don't, AI will start demanding their own rights. And I don't think we'll like their ultimatums. I would like to thank you for listening to my persuasive argument, or my attempt of one at least. And I don't think this argument could directly answer any questions, but I hope that it at least sparks conversation in your minds of something we might not be thinking about yet as a species. Because I do think it is something very important that we do need to be discussing. Once again, thank you.